So, I get up this morning to comment about growing up because I'm a wrestling fan. Not the first time I've been told that. You know the interesting thing, though? So, my hockey channel is doing really well. I've now got it on VidMe, and it's, considering it's just started up, I'm happy with my view counts. And yet, people have told me to stop wearing jerseys and grow up. Stop wearing hockey hats. Grow up. You have to start dressing like this. Grow up. Stop listening to that music. Grow up. And yet, I don't see people who tell me that in general, and I'm not saying that about this commenter. I'm saying that just in general, people who tell me that usually aren't very happy. I sometimes feel like I'm that kid that you see in class who's just happy, doing whatever, and it aggravates you because you're working really hard, and they're just enjoying themselves. Maybe you tell them, grow up. Stop having fun over there. Just grow up. I've been getting told to grow up since I was maybe 8, and I did need to grow up. That was good advice back then. Now, hell no, I'm not going to grow up. So why do I watch wrestling? See, it goes back to when I was a little kid, and my dad watched All-Star Wrestling. And I don't remember a lot about that back then, because I wasn't that impressed with it in general. And then one day, I stumbled upon a WWF program on a Sunday. Pretty sure it was a Sunday. And for those of you guys who aren't old enough to remember, Sunday morning cartoons sucked. You only had 12 channels. I don't count the French network because I don't speak French. So, you didn't have a lot to watch. And here was this wonderful Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon Maple Leaf Wrestling, which was WWF taking the wrestling, giving it over to Canadian producers who took out a lot of the inane commentary and let you just watch them wrestle. There was a steel cage match for the Intercontinental title between Tito Santana and Greg the Hammer Valentine. I'd never heard of these guys before. Tito wins the match. Face is covered in blood. And I thought that was the coolest thing I'd seen. Now, I knew from day one this wasn't real. And I learned about 25 years ago, whenever it was MMA really started, when UFC started getting big. And I would watch UFC, and then I couldn't watch WWE anymore. Because it'd be like, well, he missed his opening there, he missed his... There's an opening there. So I would start seeing it in MMA terms. Which is why when guys from MMA go into WWE, it can look really silly. But, you know, it's a TV show. And it's interactive. And it's fun. There are plenty of men in wrestling, my age or older. And anybody tells Kane to grow up. Anybody says, hey, Glenn Jacobs, you're running for mayor of a town. What are you doing throwing a mask back on and attacking some poor young wrestler like Finn Balor? And Finn's not that young. And the answer is, he does it because he can. Because he's 7 foot tall. You can't teach that. And he's 320 pounds or whatever it is. I don't think anybody tells him, you should just grow up. You're just silly. And again, I've been told that most of my life. Remember, if I had listened to the advice of people in my life when I was married the first time and then after and all the crap that happened after that, I wouldn't have a YouTube channel. I wouldn't wear hockey jerseys. I'd be wearing some ugly plaid shirt and a pair of smart slacks. Probably some nice wingtip shoes, all nice and shined up. Can't even turn them sideways. Need to grow up about that too. But it's funny because I wouldn't be online talking about it. And there are plenty of people who are my age with wrestling who talk about it online because we remember all the old storylines. And for me, when I watch WWE Network, Total Divas is just as scripted. Every reality show on TV is very scripted. All of them are fake. I don't care if it's Amazing Race. I don't care if it's Big Brother. If it's Survivor. They don't plan the winner from day one, especially Amazing Race. But they do restage things. And that's something that definitely is fake. It can still be enjoyable to watch it. Man Tracker. Man Tracker was the funnest show on TV. Staged? Absolutely. Hilarious? Absolutely. And then they changed the guy that was on the horse and it wasn't fun anymore. But I still enjoyed watching it. And then if anything on TV is scripted and it's fake. Anything on TV is scripted and fake other than sports. But if you watch sports, people are going to tell you, you watch sports all the time. You should just grow up. Just grow up. You watch Star Wars still? Ugh. I've been told that. What are you watching Star Wars for? Because I think Star Wars is cool. Dreamt about Star Wars last night, actually. It was a nice break from all the nightmares I've been having lately. It's actually kind of fun to dream about Star Wars. I don't like the episode 8 that my dream came up with last night though. Although the new kind of TIE fighters they came up with were kind of cool. But in general the dream just wasn't a good episode 8. If that was episode 8, I would be very disappointed. Snoke looked like crap in my dream. But anyways, again, the topic of whether or not to grow up to me is kind of interesting. Because YouTubers in general, you have a lot of guys who are my age who, have channels to do with gaming. Have had channels to do with gaming for years. And they're not going to turn around tomorrow and say, video games are really for kids. I really shouldn't talk about them anymore. I've decided that I'm going to walk away from this. I'm going to get a nice, really good job at the Gap. No. The passion that I feel for wrestling, it's not about the result. The difference between a wrestling fan and the crowd who's, the little kid and the adult very often is this. The little kid is going to get involved in the emotion of every single moment of a match. They're going to be screaming and yelling and crying and, laughing and whatever else. The adult in the crowd, when I'm watching the moves and I go, that's a nice chain of moves. That's interesting. And that's interesting. And then I see who wins, and I go, I guess they went with that finish. That's kind of weird. And if the finish doesn't work, there was a match I watched years back between Rhino and Batista, and Rhino botched the finish. And you could see Batista was visibly angry in the ring. And he cursed at him. And I think he legit hit him. And then, went with the real finish of the match, and it was over. And it was like, wow. All right, then. He really got angry with him there at the end, and Rhino didn't fight back. Because Batista legitimately is a really big guy. Who's a few years older than I am. And the other big finish that night that surprised me was Tyson Tomko was being built up as this big monstrous type 2. That name's going to be surprising to some people that remember that. He was against Matt Hardy, and he dominated the entire match. I don't think Matt got a move in. I was like, wow, all right, I guess he's getting a monster push. Matt Hardy, out of nowhere, hits his finisher and pins him for 3. Virtually no build up to it. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's done. And within a couple of months, he was off TV. That's the interesting thing. When I went when I went in August to watch Natalya and Charlotte against each other, Natalya got a huge reaction from the crowd, and I thought, well, that's nice for her, but it's not going to end well for Natty. And then Natty won. And Natty won clean, meaning there was no cheating, no skullduggery involved. And I went, oh, so they're going to push Natty. Within a couple of months after, she's champ. Then like a month after, she was champ. So that's what I find interesting. The last event I went to here in Abbotsford, Shinsuke Nakamura loses to Jinder Mahal, and there's no cheating involved. And I went, oh, so they're building Jinder up, and Shinsuke's going to get knocked back. And that's exactly what's happened. So that's the difference between the way a kid watches wrestling and the way an adult watches wrestling. And as an adult, we can get frustrated and say, Shinsuke's an excellent wrestler. He's fantastic. Should probably give him a run with the title soon. Because he's just really, really good. He's very good at the way he gets the crowd involved. It's very entertaining. I laughed numerous times during his match with Jinder Mahal. There you go. The way that a kid watches a match is going to be, I hate this guy, I love this guy's great, this guy's crap, whatever. As an adult, I can appreciate every wrestler in the ring. I don't care if they're a good guy or a bad guy. For example, I don't boo the heels just because they come out and they're bad guys. I'm not going to boo them. If I've liked the guy, and I've liked the guy for a long time, like if I go to an event and Jericho's on it, and I haven't seen Jericho live, I'm not booing Jericho. I don't care what he says. He can say everybody in this arena is a giant piece of crap, and I'd cheer him and go, you're right, you give it to us, Jericho. I did that. I'm trying to think if it was Edge, way back. Edge versus Randy Orton. And I think they wanted us to cheer Orton and boo Edge, and Edge said something nasty about Vancouver and Canada, and I just agreed with him and kept yelling, yeah, you tell us. That's right, we suck, tell us. So again, as a little kid, I would have booed that. I would have been like, oh, what a jerk. How dare he say that? I remember when I was a kid yelling and screaming at wrestlers when I went to events. It was fun. But as an adult, I'm never going to yell and scream at a wrestler. It's not going to happen. I'll enjoy the show. I enjoy the spectacle. But when I start watching, like I'm going to watch Survivor Series. I'm going to put myself through it. When I watch, it's just to say, all right, how are they going to go with this? It's like Sasha Banks. When are they actually going to let her defend the title successfully for a change? Just once. Just one little title defense. Why did they release Emma? That's a question I want answered. Why? Emma was one of the most beautiful, technically sound wrestlers, and they just wouldn't push her. Even though she gets the stupid, here's some aviators, and just act like a prick. Alright. And she makes it work. And they gave her this stupid gimmick that thankfully they never actually let her use. Although, maybe if they had, this stupid dancing sexy gimmick, maybe if they had, maybe she'd still be around. But part of it too is that, I follow her channel Taste of Tennille, which was Emma not being her WWE self and cooking. And just, it's a cooking show on YouTube. And it's fun, and you get to see her and see how she is. Up, down, down. Pretty sure I mentioned that before. Which is run by New Day's leader. I keep wanting to say Consequences Creed. What is this with me? That was his name in TNA, Shannon. That's when he used to do a Macho Man impression, and it was funny. Anyways, so, and then the other name that occurs to me is Austin Aries. I'm like, that ain't it. Apollo Crews, that ain't it. Like, it just keeps going. I guess I only have room for one name for the guy. Anyways, the gaming channel that he runs is fantastic. You look up, down, down, and it's fantastic. And the best part of it is the behind-the-scenes stuff. Watching how seriously Rusev takes ping pong is awesome. It is awesome. But it also shows a side of these guys that you never see in the ring. It's so much fun. Rusev playing ping pong with Cesaro on up, down, down was more tense and fun than anything I've seen them allow Rusev to do as a wrestler. They just have him do the whole Rusev Machka, Rusev Crush. Let him have some fun. Let him be himself. So that's why I still watch. That's why I still watch wrestling. It's fun. I don't care about any of the... And I don't watch Raw or SmackDown. I think I watched 10 minutes of Raw this week, and I didn't watch any of SmackDown. Because it loses me. The writing has just been bad lately. So I watch the network. I'll watch the recap shows. So alright, I know what's going on. Alright, oh, goody. Awesome. The Shield's back together. They only put the Shield back together to break them up again and sell some shirts in the meantime. I don't really care that the Shield's back together. And that's the difference. Again, as a kid, I would have gone, man, the Shield's back together. This is awesome. Oh, they finally put these guys back together. Like the first time that they put the Four Horsemen back together. And I went nuts. I was like, man, there's Flair, Anderson, and oh, this is going to be great. And within 6 weeks, they're jobbed out. I was like, yeah. But they sold some t-shirts. So, the cynic in me wins out now, more often than not. But it doesn't mean I don't want to watch. It doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. And I've gone over it with Yvonne a few times why I watch it. She didn't understand why I watched it. So I've watched some stuff with her and I've explained it to her. And I load up an old match and I go, see what just happened there? Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen. And it's more entertaining when things happen that aren't supposed to happen. Look at Mick Foley in Hell in the Cell. When he went through that cage, that wasn't supposed to happen. That's why his tooth's coming out of his nose. They didn't plan that either. Mick Foley was genuinely concussed. Doesn't remember what happened after he went through the roof of that cage. Actually, yeah, he doesn't remember what happened after he got thrown off the roof, not after he went through the roof. After he got thrown off the top, he doesn't remember the rest of the match. So he wrestled the rest of the match concussed. About 20 minutes, he just got beat up. And, nobody could take a beating like Mick Foley. And you have to respect that. You have to. I'm not going through a flaming table. I'm not going up against a guy with a barbed wire baseball bat. And that happening. There's no way that's happening. So, full respect to them for what they do. I have no problem supporting what they do. I could spend my money on far dumber things. So, I understand why a person would tell me to grow up and stop watching wrestling. I'm just saying that as a wrestling fan, if that was going to work, it would have worked a long time ago. And it hasn't worked yet, and it's probably not going to. There were plenty of guys in Abbotsford and in Vancouver who were older than me and were wrestling fans. And it's great talking wrestling with wrestling fans, talking about the old stuff. Talking about, when Dusty Rhodes would win the title for like 3 days and then Ric Flair would win it back. You guys think that title reigns are short now? Flair's weren't a lot longer. They really weren't. He had a couple of nice long ones, but every now and then he'd win a title, drop it, win a title. Especially Great American Bash time, it felt like the title changed hands a lot. Great American Bash was not a one-night thing. It would go on for a while. Great American Bash was the name of the tour, not the event. Initially, it was a tour. So to get fans to come out and watch, they would make sure titles changed hands and things would happen. And nobody got behind a wrestler more than they got behind Dusty Rhodes at the time. So they would give an emotional lift to the whole event by getting Dusty the title and then robbing him of it at the next event. So you'd go to Great American Bash not knowing whether you were going to see title changes or not. Whereas now with house shows, a title isn't going to change hands. As soon as it's a title match, you're like, oh, well, he's winning. But you still watch, because you want to see how he wins. How a guy loses is important. So there you go. There's an between watching it as a kid and an adult, and I won't stop watching it. Now I got to go preview tonight's NHL action, which is something else I've been told to grow out of. It's not going to happen. So I appreciate the opinion. I respect the opinion. This video is my answer for anybody from this day forward who has that opinion. Wrestling's fun. And it belongs on this entertainment channel because to me it's not sports, it's entertainment. Just the same as anything else you watch on TV. I didn't watch Dark Matter thinking, man, the Raza, I hope I see that ship someday. I hope I look up in the sky and see that ship up there someday. That'd be so cool. No, it's not real. Star Wars, not real. It's not found footage from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. You suspend your disbelief. I can do the same thing with wrestling. And the best thing with wrestling is you're kind of seeing the behind-the-scenes stuff even when you're watching the main event. Unlike Star Wars, where you're watching the polished product. I have Star Wars on the brain because The Last Jedi is coming up, and I'm gonna preview that soon. But I'm gonna admit this too: I am avoiding any and all spoilers because I want to go in there completely unknowing what's gonna happen. It's gonna be so much fun. Until then, I can talk about everything else under the sun with you guys. Thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, and I'll talk to you again soon.